Morning.
Just waiting for Dr. Padmini Murthy.
How is everybody? Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Namaste. So, namaste everyone. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome all of you. This event is organized by Value Community associated with the United Nations Department of Global Communications and affiliated in special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council since 2021. And some of our NGO committees and UN-related NGOs are partnering this event. I'll mention their name the last part of the program. Here I like to welcome especially Ambassador Victoria Sulimani, Ambassador Anwarul Chowdhury, Ambassador Chavala, and I see some of our speakers, Reverend Dennis Cotto, Dion Bosher, Ada Okika, Aishwarya, and our performer Michelle Delafay. And I know Hawa is going to join. Additionally, our moderator Padmini Murthy and some of our board members, partners, NGO leaders, religious leaders, and UN representatives. Those who are watching on our social media, I know over 1,000 people are in. Welcome everyone. Happy International Women's Day. Gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow, that is our theme. Today we are following the UN agendas. Advancing gender equality in the context of the climate crisis and disaster risk reduction is one of the greatest global challenges of the 21st century. Women are increasingly being recognized as more vulnerable to climate change impacts than men, as they constitute the majority of the world's poor and are more dependent on the natural resources which climate change threatens the most. Even though we are celebrating Women's Day since 1975, I think, last 32 years, we are celebrating in different parts of the world in a small scale. The last 22 years, I am happy to coordinate this event with other members of the NGOs. And we acknowledge all the women, especially I have to say, my mother is my model, my sister is my model. They both got education, they made stronger in the society and the family. That is my example. So I hope all of our leaders will uplift our fellow women, and especially young girls, they need our guidance. Here I like to introduce my colleague, that's Dr. Padmini Murthy. She is a professor and global health director at New York Medical College and the first vice chair at the Global NGO Executive Committee at the UN, DGC, and NGO representative at American Medical Women Association to the United Nations. Moreover, she is the advisor board member of the Value Community. Here I like to introduce our moderator, that is Dr. Padmini Murthy. Floor is for you.
Thank you so much, Dileepji, and greetings, Your Excellency Ambassador Victoria Sulimani, Your Excellency Ambassador Anwarul Chowdhury, Your Excellency Ambassador Chavala, invited guests, honored guests, and this is like really very amazing that Dileepji is so supportive, and this year's theme also is, break the bias. So he is really breaking the bias by organizing these such events and promoting, the well-being and what shall I say, social development of women all over. So, and we are celebrating Women's Day. And my question is, why don't we celebrate every day as Women's Day? Why should it be only today? And this morning when I was wearing this pin, which I just want to hold up, it shows the face of a woman or a girl. I'm thinking, why should we have these special observations or days which we observe promoting human rights or promoting International Women's Day? This is a global community. And I think it's important that we all support each other, which we are doing. And it's so nice to be a part of this vibrant community. And that being said, it gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce our keynote speaker today, who is Ambassador Victoria Mangai Sulimani. Thank you so much, Ambassador Sulimani. She is amazing because every time we call her, like Ada, my other partner in crime, Denise is another partner in crime. Oh, Ambassador, can you do it? And she always is right there. And she was actually presenting yesterday in Belize, right, Ambassador? And thank you so much. And I also see Queen Mother, another stalwart of the women community in the UN. Thank you for joining us, Queen Mother. So currently, Ambassador Sulimani is the DPR Political Affairs at the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone to the United Nations. And she's also an ordained minister of the gospel. She's founder and general overseer of the Freed My Sheep Ministries International. Ambassador Sulimani has over 27 years in diplomacy as an experienced diplomat and in international affairs. And among her other fields of expertise that have earned her many awards, I'm just going through a brief overview due to the interest of time. Apologies, Ambassador. Topics of human rights, gender equality, women's empowerment, peacekeeping, and preventive diplomacy, transnational security issues, global political and economic issues, and also state protocol and the conduct of elections in international organizations. She is married with 4 children. Thank you, Ambassador Sulimani. And personally, I would like to say she is an amazing role model, a great friend to have. Thank you so much, Ambassador. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm really extremely delighted to be here, but let me observe the protocols first and foremost. Madam Moderator, distinguished guest speaker, Your Excellency Ambassador Chaudhry, a guest of honor, Madam Taylor Kamara Diallo, distinguished guest speakers and distinguished participants. I must start by saying that I feel honored for this invite and that I'm extremely delighted to be here this morning to deliver this keynote address. I could not have by any means declined this invitation. You know why? Because I needed to be here to share Sierra Leone's experience on this issue of gender equality and achieving the SDGs. I believe we have been doing certain things that other people need to hear about. So that said, I want to say that the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, we all know, contains 17 goals and 169 targets, all of which aim at ending poverty, protecting the planet, improving the lives of the world's people, fighting inequalities, and increasing the productive capacities of our countries, increasing social inclusion, and curbing climate change and protecting the environment, leaving no one behind. This ambitious but comprehensive global action plan, we all know, was adopted in 2015 at the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit for the purpose of ensuring that every woman and girl on planet Earth enjoys full gender equality within the period of 15 years. We are already 7 years gone into that agenda, 8 more years to go. My question this morning is, how far are we with this agenda? As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to be speaking on only one of those 17 goals, but I needed to mention all of them because you cannot implement one without an impact on the other. So my focus this morning is on Goal 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. This goal focuses mainly on ending gender disparity, eliminating violence against women and girls, eliminating early and forced marriage, securing equal participation and opportunities for leaderships, as well as universal access to sexual and reproductive health and rights. Looking at SDG 5, the goal 5 at a glance, one is tempted to think it is a standalone goal, but that is absolutely incorrect. As a matter of fact, it is integrated in all the other goals. You cannot effectively implement all other 17 goals without mainstreaming gender perspective into them. So it is therefore no gainsaying that the SDGs have unprecedented potentials to dramatically challenge and change the status quo for gender equality and women's empowerment. Unfortunately, in 2020, the world was hit by a pandemic that is said to have deepened pre-existing inequalities, exposed vulnerabilities in the socio, economic, and political spheres. This revelation was made by no less a person than the Secretary General of the United Nations himself, Mr. Antonio Guterres, in his policy brief on the impact of COVID-19 on women. Women are said to have been disproportionately affected by this pandemic in every sector, from the health to the economy, security to social protection. We are in the second year already of the decade of action on the implementation of the SDGs. Thankfully, some of the restrictions imposed by the pandemic, which are said to have threatened to roll back the limited gains we have achieved on gender equality since Beijing, is now being relaxed gradually, and I'm very excited about that. So all of us are now talking about building back better and stronger from the pandemic. That is good news. But this means business as usual should no longer be the modus operandi. Moving forward, we need to adopt more radical and inclusive approaches if we are to achieve gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. So where am I going with all of this? I want to showcase what we have been doing in Sierra Leone on this matter. So where did we start? It started with political will, which is evident in the fact that the gender equality and women's empowerment agenda of Sierra Leone is driven by the president himself. In 2019, he declared himself a he for she champion, and since then he had spared no effort at demonstrating his commitment to inclusive governance in public and political affairs through the adoption of policies, amending old legislations and enacting new ones. It's not about political correctness. It is just common sense, because women's full and equitable participation in public life is essential to building and sustaining strong and vibrant institutions. The next move Sierra Leone has taken, I will place under one umbrella, which is eliminating all stereotypes that have stood in the way as barriers to gender equality and women's empowerment. So I'm going to look at how we have been dealing. I'm telling you how we have been dealing with these stereotypes. The stereotype number one we have been dealing with, and we still continue to deal with, is poverty having the face of a woman. That is feminization of poverty. So in order to address this issue, what have we done? We have prioritized investing in our women through policies, programs that support them economically, especially women entrepreneurs, putting gender lens on employment, and ensuring every woman gets equal pay as man for the jobs that they do. If we are doing this, then we are addressing SDG 4, SDG 8, SDG 10. Action number 2, we have realized that empowering a woman has to start with the girl child, and that is also clearly stated as a critical area of concern on the Beijing Platform for Action. So we started with adoption of radical and inclusive policies to address gender stereotypes in the education sector. Previously, for instance, previously, pregnant girls were banned from returning to school, and this affected a whole number of them, a good number of girls from returning to school, and this affected them from completing their basic and senior secondary level education. Thankfully, the ban is now lifted. And then the free quality education, which is compulsory, the school feeding programs, and our First Lady's nationwide distribution of sanitary pads to adolescent girls in schools. All schools across the country are meant, all of them are meant not only to ensure that the girls are enrolled in the school, but we want to make sure they are retained in school. Because somebody was saying one of these days, I hope I heard somebody say that any hour a girl spends in school is paving the way for her empowerment in the future, and thereby paving the way for sustainable development to our communities. Action number 2, we adopted a national strategy on adolescent and child marriage, also meant to address those cultures where girls are seen as expensive commodities that should be sold off to alleviate the poverty of their family. Then we continued. We have not relented. We mounted a robust campaign to end all forms of violence against our women and girls. And it started in 2019, when the prevalence of rape reached an alarming level in the country, that the president had no choice but to declare a state of emergency. That was considered a radical move, but I think it was a move in the right direction. And he did not only declare the state of emergency, he moved swiftly to amend the Sexual Offences Act 2012 to increase punishment for perpetrators of rape for 15 years imprisonment and life jail term for those who sexually penetrate minors. This again was later championed by the First Lady of our First Lady in a campaign she codenamed Hands Off Our Girls, which means do not rape our girls. Because all of these, some girls, some people, because of stigmatization, they have not returned to school to further their education because they were raped, and along the line, they got pregnant. But we are addressing this with very seriously. Furthermore, we have continued to intensify our campaign on ending violence against women by adopting what we call the male involvement strategy. This we believe we prevent sexual and gender-based violence. We set up a free rape line, established what we call one-stop centers for victims of SGBV, and then we amended we adopted the Child Rights Act, which also criminalized FGM under the age of 18, because people used to do FGM even to babies, but now it has criminalized it under the age of 18. So we are moving forward. And then we went up a step further to establish the first ever sexual offenses model court to address rape cases in record time. Before now, rape cases will take 5, 6, 7 years, no judgment. But the sexual offenses model court is addressing this now in record time. We are also prioritizing access to justice and remedies for survivors of sexual violence, not only on the domestic front, but on the international front. How are we doing it on the international front? As we speak, we are spearheading the adoption of the first ever resolution on international cooperation on access to justice and remedies, as well as assistance for survivors of sexual violence. This is sure to be adopted during this 76th session in the General Assembly of the United Nations. We are also intensifying our campaigns to end all forms of discrimination against women by engaging in legal reforms, especially on personal laws, to eliminate latent discriminations that directly affect the inclusion of women in political governance. We have enacted 3 gender laws, namely Domestic Violence Act, Devolution of Estate Act, and the Registration of Customary Marriage and Divorce Act. We have established also in the area of health, we have established sexual reproductive health hubs to cater for adolescent-friendly family planning and other sexual reproductive health services for adolescent girls. We are also providing free healthcare services for children under 5, pregnant women, and lactating mothers. Dealing with all of that, we are dealing with SDG 3 within the context of universal health coverage. On climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies and programs, we are reviewing policies and legislations to domesticate the relevant international instruments to ensure women's effective participation in all climate action decision-making processes. And then the last, but definitely not the least, we have more, but I don't want to take most of your too much of your time. We now have a gender equality and women's empowerment bill that awaits enactment by our parliament. The bill seeks to make a huge shift in addressing gender imbalances in the political, social, and economic fields. It will also ensure 30% representation in elective and appointive positions, promote gender equality through sustainable involvement in employment, training, education, access to finance, and strengthening gender mainstreaming and budgeting in all our programs. Madam Moderator, distinguished participants, we are definitely not yet there. If you consider all the 9 targets of SDG 5 and the 14 indicators, we are not yet there. I cannot boast of that. As a matter of fact, no country is there yet. And that gap still exists. But I can proudly say that from all what I have told you, most of this effort that we have deployed have already paid off. And as we have kept taking the proactive measures, we are witnessing increased number of women in public and political affairs. We now have women in law enforcement, female ambassadors. The reason why I'm addressing you this morning, we have ministers, we have high court judges, and the list goes on and on. This is all a demonstration of inclusive governance, which in our view is a pathway to achieving the SDGs. I want to close on this note, Madam Moderator, distinguished participant, that if we are all to achieve gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow, we must invest meaningfully. I want us to underline the word. We must invest meaningfully in our women and girls in line with the most recent recommendations by the SDG in our common agenda report, in which he has called on all and sundry to place women at the center of their national development agenda. I cannot agree more with him because, in my view, achieving gender parity means a lot for our democracies. It means greater responsiveness to the needs of our citizens. Let us take this lesson. If we haven't taken any lesson from COVID-19 in this regard, let us take the lesson that, according to the UN Women, all those countries whose heads of states and heads of government were women, we are able to manage the pandemic in a way that prevalence and death rates were kept at the barest minimum. So that is why I said when we include women, it means greater responsiveness to the needs of our citizens for global peace and security. It also means more sustainable future for our countries. Let us all therefore arise and break the bias. I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Victoria Sulimani. Your words were like so profound, and we learned a lot about the work and advocacy, not only what you have been spearheading, but also from your country. And again, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And we look forward to working with you on the future issues and events related with the women and children, because one of the things is that we need everybody to work together. And that being said, I now turn it over to Guru Dileepji to introduce Ambassador Chowdhury, whom I've had the privilege of knowing for so many years. Ambassador Chowdhury, it's always a pleasure to see you. And thank you so much for your support in everything you have been doing over the years as a diplomat in your own country, as a diplomat in the UN, and again, as an, what shall I say, a fabulous member of the current NGO community in supporting women and girls. And thank you, sir, so much for your time, and your remarks will be such a perfect complement to Ambassador Sulimani's. And I'm now turning it over to Guru Dileepji to introduce His Excellency Ambassador Anwar Chowdhury. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dileepji.
Thank you, Dr. Padmini Murthy and Ambassador Victoria Sulimani for your wonderful support to this auspicious day, Women's Day. Even though I never had an interaction with the Ambassador Sulimani, but I met her at the UN a few times. It's great to be part of this event. Now I'd like to invite my long-time mentor, I'll say mentor, and our NGO, actually NGO leader, even though he's a diplomat. He is guiding so many NGOs at the UN. That is Ambassador Dr. Anwarul Karim Chowdhury is a senior diplomat at the UN. He's from Bangladesh. He was the Under Secretary General at the UN. He led so many committees. He is one of the diplomat I met when I came to America, along with Vijay Nambiar, Ambassador Vijay Nambiar, Kofi Annan. Oh, they had a wonderful time in 99, 2000, 2001. Those days, major events happened at the UN. I remember one of the religious events led by Babaji, and that was a 2000 Millennium Religious Summit. That was a beautiful event. And Ambassador create one movement, that's a global movement for the culture of peace. That's one touched me a lot, because he don't want to force people to bring the peace. He want people to walk holding hands together and move in a peaceful manner. That's a very beautiful way he brought that peaceful moment. Here I like to introduce and welcome our Ambassador Anwarul Chowdhury. Ambassador, floor is for you.
Thank you, Dileep, for your kind comments and introduction. Thank you, Padmini, for your words of welcome. And I am very happy to share the floor or podium with all of you together. Firstly, greetings of the International Women's Day, which was yesterday, but we are holding this forum today. But as Padmini mentioned, that why not every day is a International Women's Day, so that we can energize ourselves. I am very happy to see many of my colleagues, friends, co-activists at this forum. Of course, I mentioned Padmini now, and we have been speaking with Queen Mother when we were waiting for the event to start. And then I see Denise, I see Ada, I see Alfredo after many years, my friend, good friend. I see TK Nagakaki and Ambassador Chabala, who is also a big supporter of NGO community's work. And then Carl, I see, I'm very happy that, and also I see Johnny Carly here. So there are many friends are here. As I was seeing the flyer of this event, I saw and felt proud to be placed in between two women and ladies from Sierra Leone, Ambassador Sulimani and Hawa. Both of them were there, and I would say that Sierra Leone is one of the countries I love very dearly. I am fond of that place, fond of its people. I have been visiting Sierra Leone a number of times when I was chairman of the Security Council Sanctions Committee of Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone was going through a big civil war situation at that time in the year 2000 and 2001. I have been there a number of times. And I am very happy to say that I personally experienced the exemplary work of Mano River Women's Network, a very well-known civil society group in West Africa. And I was very happy also to associate myself with a number of initiatives there for the rehabilitation of child soldiers. And particularly, I was involved in the rehabilitation and appropriate focus on the girls child soldiers in Sierra Leone. So this is a special pleasure for me to take the podium now after Ambassador Sulimani. Now I have the pleasure of presenting my short message on this occasion. This year's International Women's Day is being observed at a time when a major war has enveloped Ukraine. However, I keep believing that peace is possible even in these troubling times. I honor all the local peace builders in Ukraine. Most of them are women who are continuing their work for peace, even at great risk to themselves. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and its staggering impacts on women has exacerbated the gender gap enormously. Women's rights are under threat from a backlash of conservatism and fundamentalism around the world. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres lamented that everywhere we still have a male-dominated culture. My work has taken me to the farthest corners of the world, and I have seen time and again the centrality of women's equality in our lives. This realization has now become more pertinent amid the ever-increasing militarism and militarization that is destroying both our planet and our people. As I reiterate time and again, women bring a new breadth, quality, and balance of vision to a common effort of moving away from the cult of war towards the culture of peace. Sustainable peace is inseparable from gender equality. Women's equality makes our planet safe and secure. Adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women and peace and security 22 years ago opened a much-awaited door of opportunity for women who have shown time and again that they bring a qualitative improvement in structuring peace and in the post-conflict architecture. We should never forget that when women, half of the world's 7+ billion people, are marginalized, there is no chance for our world to get sustainable peace in the real sense. I'm encouraged that gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow is the theme for the observance of the International Women's Day this year. And we are celebrating that through the theme of this forum. My own experience during my different responsibilities, more so during past 20+ years, has shown that the participation of women in peacemaking, peacekeeping, and peace building assures that their experience, priorities, and solutions contribute to lasting stability, good governance, and sustainable peace. As I always strongly emphasize, empowering women's political leadership will have ripple effects on every level of society and the global condition. At a recent conference on women in power, women in power and decision-making, building a different world, the leading participants there emphasized that there is evidence to show through research that when you have more women in public decision-making, you get policies that benefit women, children, and families in general. As we find a male-dominated culture everywhere, without exception, the role of men is extremely crucial to reverse the current pushback. In this context, the launch in 2020 of the initiative for mobilizing men as partners of women, peace and security, with which I am closely associated, is significantly purposeful. Civil society, in particular, women's organizations, human rights activists, and peace groups around the world need to mobilize their efforts to hold governments accountable for the commitments they made in Resolution 1325. Let us strive to build a gender-equal world. An equal world is an enabled world. We need to understand that feminism is not about making women strong. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives that strength. Feminism is not a woman's issue. It is an issue for humanity. I am proud to be a feminist. All of us need to be. That is how we make our planet a better place to live for all. Our individual actions, conversations, and mindsets can have an impact on our larger society. Together, we can make change happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your wonderful message. For the Women's Day, we men always support women. I like to, yeah, Padmini, Murthy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to say that thank you so much, Ambassador Chowdhury, for your very prolific remarks. But also, he is so humble because he did not tell all of us the tremendous work he did on 1325. Sir, thank you so much. And that just is a testament to how gracious and humble you are. But we all know that it would not have happened without your consistent efforts night and day. I remember, and I just wanted to share that Ambassador Chowdhury also contributed a brilliant piece to my book, Women's Global Health and Human Rights, which still is being used after more than a decade, along with Professor Amartya Sen. And the students who have read it always say that it is so simple. Just your words really flow, Ambassador Chowdhury. You should really be writing a book for the younger generations, not only the diplomatic students of diplomacy, but all of us. So thank you again, sir, much appreciated. And I think now, Dileepji, we have our beautiful angel, Michelle Delafay. Michelle, thank you so much for your time and the music you give to the world. So after these two fabulous speeches, we will now turn over to Michelle to entertain us with her melodious song. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you. I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore, 'cause I know too much to go back to pretending. And I've heard it all before, and I've been down there on the floor. No one's ever gonna keep me down again. Oh yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I've paid the price, but look how much I've gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong. I am invincible. I am a woman. You can bend but never break me, 'cause it only serves to make me more determined to achieve my final goal. And I come back even stronger, not a novice any longer, 'cause you've deepened the convictions in my soul. Yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I've paid the price, but look how much I've gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible, I am a woman. I am woman, watch me grow, see me standing toe to toe, as I spread my loving arms across the land. But I'm still an embryo with a long, long way to go, until I make my brother understand. Oh, yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I paid the price, but look how much I've gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible, I am a woman. Yes, I am one, and I am strong, I am invincible, oh, I am woman, and I am strong.
I love it.
Thank
Wow,
you.
you brought a new song today.
Yes.
Thank you, Michelle. So Michelle is an actress and singer, additionally NGO representative of the World Community to the United Nations. She is supporting us long time. Thank you, Michelle, for your beautiful
Thank you,
talk.
Gurji.
Now we are going to start the panel discussion. Padmini Murthy will be the moderator, and I'm going to invite my beloved sister, that is Reverend Dion Bosher. She's a chaplain at the Church Center for the United Nations and the executive committee member at the CR NGOs and NGO representative of the United Methodist Women to the UN. Moreover, she is the person helping us with so many events at the Church Center. What else I have to say? So, Padmini Murthy ji.
Thank you so much, Dileepji. And Reverend Dion, you're such an inspiration. I mean, those of us who know you over the years, it's always a pleasure to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, the way we are doing this panel today, and Michelle, I mean, we all love you. You're really the golden, it reminds me of ABBA's song, you know, the girl with the golden hair and, you know, with the golden voice. I mean, every time we listen to you, we are transported into another realm. So we have our panelists waiting, but it's such a busy day, and we thank everybody for their time. And also, Dileepji, I think you are so fortunate because, you know, apart from your mother and your sister, you have all of us, your UN family here, who are with you and
Right.
supporting you. And really, you are such a strong support for all of us and always encouraging us. So on behalf of everybody, please accept our grateful thanks and appreciation to you, because you know what? I always call him the Energizer Bunny, because he goes on and on and on and pulls all of us to get moving to do that. So I think because Reverend Dion, you have an engagement, also my partner in crime, Ada. So I will first start with the questions with you, then go on to Ada, and then have Denise and Aishu, and then Dileepji, Hawa Diallo sent us apologies, but she did send us her tape, which you will be playing once we finish with them.
Yeah.
So Reverend Dion, it's so nice you're speaking to us from the chapel. Thank you again. And if you have not heard her speak, it's your loss, because she is so inspiring across ages, generations, and God bless you, ma'am. And you know what? Thank you so much for sharing your passion with us. So my first question to you, what, in your opinion, is the significance of the International Women's Day to women globally? Why do we even have this? Why are we celebrating it? So we would love to hear from you. Thank you.
I first want to just again to thank you for having me here, Ambassador Chowdhury. You always inspire us, and you are most distinguished moderator and dear friend, Dr. Padmini. Murthy, you are just a blessing and a gift to all of us. Your kind words, I appreciate you. Ambassador Chowdhury, thank you for always inspiring us. Ambassador Sulimani, truly, I mean, if I can just be like you when I grow up, I think I will be all right. I will be better for it. And to you, Guruji, always gathering us in. Thank you so much. And guest of honor, Hawa, and all the panelists. I just want to say, there's so much to say, and I'm grateful for both of the questions that I got. And I want to use the time wisely that I have, and again, apologize for having to leave. But I was thinking about your comments, Ambassador Chowdhury, talking about sustainable peace is inseparable from gender equality. You also said it's about changing the way that women's leadership is perceived. And so when we're talking about why this is important, why even International Women's Day is important, I think that for us to endure, for us to understand and know that sustainable peace is inseparable from gender equality, and understanding that gender equality today is for a sustainable tomorrow, I think those are not words that we just need to hear sort of in a vacuum. We need to put them in context. And as I'm preparing, my whole mind right now is in preparation for the CSW, which of course we are focusing in on climate change and its related impacts undermining human rights and threatening progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Agenda, right? By the increased food insecurity, inequities, the inequalities that we're seeing, the conflicts, the disasters, and the humanitarian crises that are arising. And so while climate change is a universal threat, the burden is not felt equally across the world. It is disproportionately impacting the health and the livelihoods of the poor and the most vulnerable among us, especially those who face multiple intersecting forms of discrimination, such as women in poverty, youth, children, people with disabilities, indigenous persons of color across the globe. And so what I want to say, as a person of faith, our scriptures and our faith traditions inform our respect for all of God's creation, right? And we take seriously, especially myself and the ecumenical women at the UN, which I'm sort of leading the charge with our CSW delegations. We take seriously the faith-based emphasis on demonstrating care and compassion for all living things, especially the most vulnerable among us, right? So considering our values and commitment to addressing climate change, there are areas, I think, that if we're talking about achieving sustainable gender equality and a sustainable tomorrow, we have to address the environmental degradation and the climate-related disasters that are occurring. We have to not ignore and go around environmental racism and the economic injustices that we're seeing happening, and the disparities that we're seeing within not only the indigenous communities, but these communities that have been impacted so crucially, the minority communities, Black and brown communities within the US. Outside now, we're seeing them happening even in with refugees in the Ukraine, and because of disasters, and those trying to flee are not treated the same. We have to not ignore these things. Also, the climate-induced displacement the forced migration, the gender-based violence that continues to be on the rise in the small island developing states, as well as in communities in Africa, the Americas, on the front lines. We're seeing it, and how our marginalized in society, including women and girls, particularly in the low-income communities around the world, are seeing higher risks of trafficking and forced labor during this kinds of displacements. And so we have to be about the recommendations, right? The recommendations that we, as the ecumenical women, but also as United Methodist Women, all of us who are gathering, including faith-based organizations, we have to be considered integral partners, right, to the UN and responding to not just the climate change the issues and the building climate resilience, right, through us being through the multi-stakeholder partnerships, but also we have to be at the table, not just in the humanitarian crises on the end of it, but in the beginning when we're planning, right? We also have to insist on accountability when we are looking at gender injustices and gender-based violence. We also are looking at our organizations respect the dignity of every human being. In particular, you mentioned Ambassador Chowdhury being a good feminist. And so I applaud feminism and those who are identify as feminists. But I have to say, and I have said it in multiple arenas, that traditionally feminism, as it has been used, has excluded the women of color, and particularly Black and Brown women, Indigenous women, and their cultures. I'm seeing that we are including them a whole lot more now. But as a womanist, I have to say that there are mujerista theologies and womanist theologies and Indigenous women's theologies, grassroots women's ways of seeing the world and ways of addressing the abuse and the violence that we're seeing that should be included. As we, as a community, a global community, come together to address what needs to be sustainable equality, and for a sustainable tomorrow, we need to be inclusive of. And I will end with this. There is a story that's in the Bible, a story about five girls. They're young girls, and the text in the biblical text says that they are probably in their young teens, right? We know their names, which oftentimes we don't know in biblical texts, but their names, they were called the daughters of Zelophehad. And in the biblical text, it says that they came forward. Their names were mentioned, Mala and Noah and Huldah and Milcah and Tirzah. And they came before Moses and the priests, all of the leaders, right? And they came to the congregation, and they in the midst of all of that was happening, their father died. And they, because they were women, were not allowed to inherit the land. And what they did was they did something that was unheard of. They came together, these five daughters came together, and they did the unspeakable. They pled their case before the leadership, and they were heard, and they changed how the leaders began to interpret texts or tradition, and the text tells us that God heard their case, and of course they were then granted the land. But the things that were so significant about this story is that it is a model for how I think that we can achieve sustainable development and a sustainable tomorrow, equality and a sustainable development and for a sustainable tomorrow, is that they came together. They came forward boldly, and they did something that they've never done before. They stated their case. They did not just come with problems and a list of ills, but they came and they stated their case. They came with solutions and suggestions that we all could come along with. The second thing is that they actually came forward together. They did not come individually, but they came together. And then the last thing is that they came despite of their circumstances. Even in the midst of the wilderness experience, they came together and they stated their case. And just because that they were daughters traditionally who did not were not named, did not have they did not have an identity that was acknowledged, and they did not have inheritance or land distribution, they still were heard because they boldly went before. And I suggest that we do the same thing as a global community, as a faith community, to come together so that what we can see is a lasting and sustainable change for women, for girls, for all the community that will come together, so that we can see gender equality, equality amongst all genders, equality amongst women and girls, held in leadership for a sustainable today and tomorrow. And I'm grateful to be a part of that and to be a part of that with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your coming on. We all do. I know you have to leave, but I just wanted to say that you address climate change in such a, what shall I say, nuts and bolts way, which anybody can understand. And unfortunately, you know, the theme of the CSW is this. I don't say it's unfortunate that it's the theme of the CSW, but with the conflict in Ukraine and all the nuclear centers being under attack, who is affected first? It's the women and girls. That's what happened in Japan, in Hiroshima. That's what happens anywhere. Unfortunately, they're bearing the brunt. So I have my second question, which you have 45 seconds to answer, which I'm sure you can before we move on. What, in your opinion, should UN agencies, governments, and NGOs do, either working together or independently, to promote gender equity and make sure women are represented in decision-making panels? I mean, this kind of resonates with what Ambassador Chowdhury said, but I think it has to be like the ripple effect we all talk about. It needs to be cohesive and adhesive. The reason I say that is to get this. So please, Reverend Leone, we would appreciate your short intervention on this before we move on to our next speaker. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sure. I think that what we have to do, of course, is include women's leadership, and we have to include a gender responsive, inclusive approach, right, to in the design of emergency interventions to cope with not just the climate-related disasters, but all of what we're seeing happen. That means sort of the needs of women and girls, the elderly, the people living with disabilities, all of that, which we mentioned, to be included in the development of our approaches, not just at the end when the crisis has come, but as we are including, we have to include a gender responsive approach from the very beginning, which means that we're including us at the table when we're making the design. So I think that this is what needs to happen from the very beginning. That is one of the things, many others, but I think one of the most critical that we should include as we begin. And with faith-based organizations, just like I say, let God be your first priority and not your last resort. I think the same should be with women and girls, that women's voices, our input should be included in the very beginning and not in the last resort trying to clean everything up. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. I mean, you never fail to deliver or impress us. I've heard you so many times, but every time it's like a new thing. You know, and I'm just not talking in air. I'm a physician. You get straight to the point. So the one thing I wanted to say before I turn it over to Ada, that's why now in medicine, we have what is called gender-specific medicine, which is being introduced across, like, you know, we tell our students that and practicing so that we understand that women have specific needs. And also I would further add is gender specific, yes, and age related. So what you say really resonates. And thank you so much for everything you do, and look forward to seeing you if and when we can all meet, because CSW is virtual again.
I know.
Thank
you so much, all of you. Thank you so much, Dr. Padmini. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Ada, Dr. Ada Okika. And I have had the privilege and pleasure of knowing her for almost 15 years, right, Ada? I mean, she and Denise are my partners in crime because we're always doing things together. And Ada is an educationist. She's capacity development and knowledge management expert. She has developed program strategies and is passionate about education. I mean, the Ada is another, what shall I say, Guru Ada Ji, because she also is an energizer bunny. She just comes into the room and she goes like, no, we have to do it. We have to do it. It's like, okay, in the morning, like, okay, are you back? What are you doing? So this is Ada. You know, if she says something, she does it. And the other thing I just wanted to say before I ask you, Ada, the reason I'm keeping the bio short is just in the interest of time. The work you have done in My Sister's Health Watch, which I've had the privilege of working with you, is where we looked and addressed the social determinants of health in improving the health and well-being of women and girls. When we worked with the former ambassador Anton of Grenada, and then when we collected everything for Grenada. So this is the thing, always Ada would say that, yes, look at it. So we always have a grassroots approach. And thank you, Ada. And the other thing Ada does is she's the rector of the Root Sisters Fellowship International, where she is focusing, putting all her energies, come morning, noon or night, wherever she's traveling, to educate and empower and support a sister in building a character generation for the kingdom of God. So Ada, thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you for being here before you run off to the Nigerian mission. So, and thank you for accepting Guru Dileepji's invitation. And so tell me, what is the significance of International Women's Day to you? And how do you think it's important for women globally based on all the work you did?
Thank you, Dr. Mini, my partner in crime for years. It's been wonderful having you again here. And thank you, Guru, for always wanting to invite me to your wonderful and excellent events. You have been my good friend all these whiles. We have been supporting each other. And I'm also glad to meet with the Ambassador Victoria Sulimani from Sierra Leone Mission and all her wonderful support to things about women, especially to us in civil societies. Whenever you call her, she does not waste time in submitting to the call. My special regards to His Excellency Ambassador Awa Chaudhry. In fact, he's a wonderful instrument and mentor to gender, in fact, to civil societies, and we are so proud of him. He's also giving his time to everything we do, and which he is called up. So we appreciate you. I personally give you my special heart of honor in all your support to us. Dr. Mini, you asked a wonderful question. What is what does International Women's Day mean to me? You know, each year on March 8th, people say Happy International Women's Day. Everywhere is so glamorized, it's so celebrated, everything is happy. Everybody is wishing women Happy International Women's Day, including men who beat women at random. They all say Happy International Women's Day. And I wonder, what are we driving at? What are we really driving at this point? You know, because if I'm wishing you happy Sunday, it means I really want you to be happy. You know, I want you to be celebrated. I want you to be happy, but not wishing you happy with my tongue, and in my heart, there's another agenda. You know, so all these things happening, you know, on International Women's Day, I call it puzzle. You know, we're all playing puzzle, you know, celebrating women. But in the actual sense, the March 8th was adopted in 1977 by member states to achieve or to celebrate the cultural, political, and socio-economic achievements of women. That was the undergrounding agenda. And the focal point is also on women's rights movement, bringing attention to gender equality, reproductive rights, violence, and abuse against women. Is a point of taking action on all these issues. I don't have problem with saying Happy International Women's Day, but my own concern that when we say Happy International Women's Day, let us mean it. I'm sure if you take time to do study around the world, a lot of women were beaten, abused, violated on March 8th across the world. And it's everywhere Happy International Women's Day. It cost my heart. So we have to really know how to solve this puzzle. The UN has showed their stand action that they are in for giving space to women across the world in the Sustainable Development Goal. And they're doing everything humanly possible to ensure that women's efforts are being given space, so that when we talk about Happy Women's Day, we know what we are celebrating. The UN Women is doing a lot, raising policy, bringing up issues, discussion. Some of the member states are doing wonderfully well, but others are not, especially from my country, Nigeria, the giant of Africa. Of recent, even on March 8th, documents were released that I read you what some of the points that were circulated through the media, that 95.9% of men voted to denying women the ability to take their indigenous husbands in Nigeria. Another one is that the 35% deny 35% appointed positions for women. They also deny women 35% affirmative action in party administration and leadership. They reject specific seats for women in the National Assembly. These are circulated on March 8th. You see, 95.9% of men. So as all these things behave, that in the real sense of it, I think women should look into the box, look inside the box of gender. We look inside the box of gender. At this time, I know when I was growing, whenever you want something that nobody can help you, then rise up and help yourself. We should rise up and look inside the box of gender. And that's what I call that we need to wake up to do a women GPS, gender puzzle solution. We need to look into that. It's no longer celebration or glamorizing international. That is not the agenda, to be glamorized the day. It's a day to talk about, to celebrate cultural, political, and socio-economic achievements of women. Yes, me and you can say, okay, we have achieved this and that achievement. Just as Minnie has said, we did my sister's health initiative. Yes. What about that women in a timid area? What is achievement? How do we have a spread so that we can be able to solve our gender puzzles? How do we spread it? How do we ensure that all women are happy on every March 8th? So it is a very serious time is now that we women should look inside the box. Let us stop looking outside the box, because it has not helped us. When we look inside the box, we come up with actionable solutions that can be used to solve our puzzle. Puzzle of violence against women, abuse, position displacement, denial of human rights movement, reproductive rights, everything that we are being denied of. In most countries, a woman cannot come out to be a president. When you come out to be a president, there are wars. In most cases, women are even used against women. So we need to know how to solve our gender puzzle so that at the end of it, or when we come out on March 8th, we are boldly happy that yes, we are doing what is expected. We are celebrating what is expected. We have much to do, but women need to really team up together. The GPS of women is our problem. We need to solve it. It is our problem. We need to solve it. So that once a woman is happy celebrating March 8th in India, is happy celebrating in Nigeria, is happy celebrating in Europe, in Jamaica, in Asia, everybody is happy. But I tell you, 90% of women are not happy. So we need to rise up. Look inside the box. Get up to solve our gender puzzle. Thank you.
Ada, thank you so much. And before we go on to our next speaker, I just want to say, you talk so well about the GPS, but the GPS needs to be controlled by us women, not a man writing the code for us for the control of GPS. So thank you again and appreciate your time. And I just see that, again, Denise and I should just bear with me because I just saw Hawa online. So I'm going to ask her if she is willing to speak, and then I'll have you both ladies. It's not that you are least in any way, but Ada, what you said is so true. Thank you again for your passion. And I love the term GPS. I think we should tweet it, especially now. But again, the GPS should be under our control. Thank you so much. So Hawa, I see you are there. Would you like to speak, or would you like your recording, which you sent us, to be played? Maybe because Hawa has conflicting schedules.
Yeah.
Is she on?
No, she said she'll open the video later.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so now our next speaker, who's another powerful person, is Denise Carter, who is an attorney. She's a great friend. I'm proud to call her my friend. And you know, what I like about Denise is she has one of the sharpest legal minds I have met people with the sharpest legal minds, but she's so passionate. And, you know, it's a fabulous combination, which is really rare. So Denise is a policy advisor, international speaker. She's a motivational speaker, and she is has worked in the UN as a staff member at the New York headquarters, where she worked on reforming the UN's internal system of justice, and then in the DESA formulating policy to advance law, good governance, and human rights. She has held leadership roles in various organizations, both professional and NGO, for more than 20 years. She has been an interfaith minister. And ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, all protocols observed, she is the founding chair of the International Day of the Yoga Committee at the UN. And we all, you know, I'm proud to be a member of that committee. And it's like amazing because all the things, and if you have not looked at the book, which she brings out every year, the publication, it is truly amazing where, you know, she brings together, like Dileepji, the best of all the worlds, where we have the diplomats, the UN staff, and NGOs across the board. And she also serves as the vice president of the UNSRC Enlightenment Society. So thank you so much, Denise. The floor is yours. And I would like to ask you, what is the significance, in your opinion, of International Women's Day to you personally and to women globally?
Thanks for that kind introduction, Dr. Minnie Murthy. What a great friend and colleague. And I have to say, before we start, that it's such a joy for me to be with everyone today, to see so many familiar faces, so many friends, not colleagues, but friends who we've worked together for decades, not just years, but decades. I've been doing this for over 25 years, working in the area of human rights, but also promoting the advancement of women and girls in many ways. So this is something that many of us have been involved in, and it's something that comes with a real sense of dedication. It comes from beyond. It doesn't come, just because someone has an interest in it. It is a calling, I believe, that comes from above so that one is sustained in this effort. I really like to acknowledge our special guests today. Ambassador Sulimani gave such a wonderful presentation and an overview of what's going on in her country in Sierra Leone, and mentioned many of the important issues that we still face, that we were facing over 25 years ago when the Beijing Platform for Action was devised and adopted. I also want to again give my great gratitude to Ambassador Chowdhury, because now more than ever is Security Council Resolution 1325 and the situation of civilians, and especially women and children in armed conflict, more important than ever. And on this note, I also like to acknowledge Reverend Zoe Chang, who has been in the UN system working on these issues. And we worked on many issues together when we had UN Women Precursor, the Division for the Advancement of Women. We did tremendous work. She did tremendous work there. And as Ambassador Chowdhury said, Alfredo was with us with the World Bank, doing so much good work to promote policies and programs to help so many people and eradicate poverty across the globe. Again, so many of you, dear friends, are here with us today from all walks of life, and it is such a delight and a privilege to have you with us. International Women's Day, as Ada said, in the UN system has been celebrated over 40 years, but we know in many countries and in the US, it started over 100 years ago. So it has a lot of history, and there is a lot of a sense of struggle and a sense of what can we do to create a better world for women and children. And for those of you who have been in the UN system and done some advocacy in this arena, we know full well that the double dividend of investing in women and girls is something that produces benefit for all humanity, for everyone in society, for men, for boys, for everyone in all walks of life. So this is something that is not a new concept. The other thing that I want to bring out when we talk about International Women's Day is the idea that some of the speakers touched on is how we have longstanding institutional mechanisms that have been so ingrained in countries around the world. So, for example, when we talk about equal pay for equal work, why shouldn't a woman who is doing the same job as a man get the same amount of money and the same benefits for that, right? That's one aspect. When we talk about, if we look at it from the larger picture of individual countries, why can't we include in a country's GDP the caregiving that women do? Because we know that it's the majority of women and girls who are the caregivers, taking care of youngsters, taking care of disabled people and families, taking care of older persons, right? I mean, the caregiving that women do to Mother Earth, to our Earth, is another example of that. And when we talk about all of this stuff going on with climate change, we can't not acknowledge the tremendous debt that we have to women and girls. So when we talk about this idea, of equality or even equity, we can't not look at the institutional mechanisms. And I wouldn't be a good lawyer and a good representative of the legal organizations that I've represented for years at the United Nations and that I've been involved in for years if I didn't say the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, known as CEDAW, C-E-D-A-W, really is the Bill of Rights for women, which talks about the lack of discrimination, equality, and equity for women and girls in all forms of life, right? From birth to the life cycle to death. And it talks about this in terms of women in every opportunity available, right? Education, healthcare. It talks about training. It talks about employment. Again, it goes back to what I had said, equal pay for equal work. And this is something that we still have not achieved universal ratification for. But I hope that one day in my lifetime we will. We talk also about many of the other compatible treaties, for example, the ILO, the International Labor Organization, and the treaty that deals with violence and harassment, which is a fairly new treaty, Treaty 190. And I bring this up because we know that violence against women and girls is a huge obstacle and impediment to women achieving their best self, to women achieving the to them achieving their birthright. That is the best way that I could say it. And when I was working in the UN system, I worked on a special report that dealt with violence against women around the globe. In 2005, Kofi Annan released this, and things really have not changed since this report has happened. We know that domestic violence or intimate partner violence is experienced by women around the world. Women are more alike than they are different. And when we talk about this idea of violence, as Ambassador Sulimani talked about, she touched upon forced and early marriages of girls. She talked about rape and sexual assault. It can be in the context of war and armed conflict, but it's beyond that. We know that it happens outside of the area of war and armed conflict, right? We talk about son preference. We talk about food and feeding boys as opposed to girls. There are so many things that we can talk about, but I want to be celebrating women and girls and celebrating those male champions, the ones that we have here, like Guru Dileepji, who is here and who organized this, because I have not been available due to my own situation and my caretaking of my mom, who had a terrible fall in the second week of January and almost died. And I have moved into her house with my 2 cats to do caretaking of her. So I want to be celebrating the wonders that women are, the resilience that they are, the strength that they are and that they have. And I just like to sum up by saying one of the comments that we had was about intentionality. And I like to pair that with what Ada said about inside ourselves, looking inside. Because I believe that we get the strength from being aligned with the greater good, from the greater one, from the one. And how can we have this strength, this hope, this resilience? Is having a strong practice of meditation or prayer or clearing one's mind to realize that we are not alone, that we are connected to something bigger, to someone that is greater than ourselves, that we are connected to each other, to all of us. This is a community, and this is a very special community. And I feel blessed to have Dr. Padmini Murthy, Guru Dileepji, and so many of the friends who have been with us, Doyan Park, Reverend Doyan, Reverend D, again, Zoe Chang, who I've worked with for decades in the UN system and in the UN, Ambassador Chabala, Lily, Remy, Dr. Remy Alapo, who was with our legal organizations and who also has been a very big person in bringing the legal and the spiritual faith-based groups together and youth. I could go on and on and on, but, I'd like to stop there because I think that, it really comes from this connection, and that's what it is about. So thank you and happy International Women's Day to everyone. And I appreciate all your efforts in our time together.
Thank you so much, Denise. You never failed to deliver. It was really amazing. And as I just said, there was poetry in your words. Thank you so much for being such a role model to look up for so many of our youth. And now I would like to have Aishu Narasimhadevara. And Aishu is a PhD student at the Chulalongkorn University. And she is the representative of the International Yoga Committee to the United Nations, and also is a youth representative to the DGC Youth Committee. And Aishu is one of the people whom I have met for more than 3 decades, whom I have known. And she never gets angry. I have never come across a young woman who never has, like, if I go like, oh my God, they're like, this, go like, okay, calm down, they're not. So she's like a soothing balm. And thank you so much, Aishu, for your wisdom beyond the years. And I'm going to ask you, what, in your opinion, is International Women's Day to women globally? And why do you think, or what do you think UN agencies, NGOs, think tanks, and governments can do to put women's issues on the agenda? Over to you, Aishu. Thank you.
Thank you very much, of course, Dr. Murthy, and for the very kind remarks. I must say, yes, we have known each other in that capacity, and greetings to excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Just in the interest of time, I'll be very brief in my remarks. So to me, what International Women's Day is a day to commemorate the dynamism and passion of women and the contribution to society. The day recognizes the importance of gender equality, the role of women, and the power of women and men working together. And as Ms. Scotto herself said, it provides a sense of hope and positivity that women can lead the lives that they wish to, and to reach their full potential. And it also emphasizes the resilience of women, as many of the eloquent speakers have stated in their remarks, the difficult circumstance they may be in, and through their perseverance, how they overcome these barriers in order to achieve goals. And as also stated by our one of the magnificent moderators, this year's theme for International Women's Day is to break the bias, which highlights the importance of dispelling stereotypes that unfortunately an obstacle for women, as we have been discussing throughout today's program. So in order for women to prosper, it is essential to foster a positive mindset in which women are viewed as equal to men. And by placing emphasis on this, gender equality can be achieved, and thus peace can also, peace is possible through that manner. So this is what I also, from my experience to some of my fellow youth advocates working on similar issues in gender equality, have been focusing on this mindset. So actually teaching, for instance, young boys about girls, and if they have any sisters, what do their sisters mean to them, and how important it is to show that anybody can do anything, and it's not necessary to have certain tasks for, for men or women, but anybody can do it. So this is where I think one way we can have, by having these dialogues, to overcome some of these dangerous mindsets, which unfortunately create these inequities in society. So this is what I personally believe. Now, just on another note, is I always also like the celebrations of International Women's Day in various countries, which are very vibrant. I know sometimes they give flowers and they give gifts, so it's very nice to commemorate that. And overall, I personally would want to make more of an impact in society, and just as a personal, goal for myself in creating a gender-balanced society. Going on to your second question, how we can have various sectors working together to increase the number of women in society, or yes, more certainly having a gender balance in all leadership through the hierarchical structure. I know that, of course, Ms. Kota has very eloquently in great detail explained this, coming also from her perspective and experiences. But just to add on, that even the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has committed to increasing the number of women in senior leadership positions. And the organization itself has adopted a system-wide strategy known as a system-wide strategy on gender parity. Furthermore, it's just important to have women in more of these discussions. I know throughout our chat, we had many people saying how even in some organizations, suicide organizations, there really may not be training. So having, for instance, gender sensitization trainings, again, will be another way to break that bias, to show that women are the same as men. Having, as we mentioned, women also are unfortunately disproportionately affected by climate change. So having them also in discussions related to disaster risk reduction as one example, probably another way to increase the participation of women in such dialogues. So what I personally also believe is, even in the recruitment processes, for instance, to have it unbiased, to ensure the full participation of women. And I most certainly believe that through multi-sectoral collaborations, it is possible to achieve Planet 50-50 by 2030. And as Ambassador Chowdhury eloquently stated, peace is possible. So having women being able to lead meaningful lives in dignity, to reach their full potential, we can most certainly achieve peace. So thank you very much. And I pass it over back to you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much, Aishu. Appreciate your comments, which were very insightful. And now I think we have a special musical treat from Inamori. And thank you so much, Micah, for always being so supportive. And it is early morning in Japan. I mean, you and Michelle are really, what shall I say, are a musical genii who take us into a whole new world. So over to you, Dileepji, and then to you, Micah. Thank you so much.
Hi, Micah. Everything ready? Micah, are you able to hear? So Micah is from the Inamori Art Project Group from Japan. I think around 2 a.m. in Japan, I think, correct? So last some years, they are supporting with their blissful songs and dance together, music together. They performed in New York City 2 years back, and Micah came here to see me last year with her friend. Micah, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Guruji. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Guruji and Padmini. Thank you so much for a kind invitation. Greetings of peace from Japan to all brothers and sisters. I'm so glad, and it's such a pleasure to join International Women's Day celebration. I'm Micah from Inamori Art Project Group in Japan. We are a volunteer art group spreading the prayers of love and peace through our art performances. And today we would like to offer a song, Light of My Prayers. It shows calls and prayers from women all around the world to men who choose to fight. In the midst of this planetary crisis, may all God's children in the world awake and realize we are one family, and put down guns and weapons and choose to love, care, and help each other as one family. May this battle end as soon as possible, and may all 7 billion people in the world join hands to start to transform this planet into a planet of love. Thank you. Onegaishimasu.
God, listen to my prayer. Are there anything you need? Just let my husband return home. Safe free.
Should I believe it or not? I see you far off to the world. It's not a dream, women around the world are watching. So the facts in this world that may be a dream. Sorrow and pain of them I've never seen, just flowing into me and fill my heart. Can I do nothing but cry? I was asking. Then a streak of voice to my heart. Yes, you can do. In light of my prayers, it's proof I'm God's child. All souls are linked together. God's souls are linking us. God's souls are linking us as a calling from God. In light of my prayers, in light of my prayers. Women's grief in a word is my grief. The pain around the world is my pain. So let's take a step ahead with women around the world. Then a streak of light to my heart, what you can do. In light of my prayers, it's true we are God's children. All souls are linked together. God's souls are linking us. God's souls are linking us as a calling from God. In light of my prayers, it's proof I'm God's child. All souls are linked together. Now let's pray becoming. Now let's pray becoming a vessel of God. In light of my prayers, 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 it's proof I'm God's child. All souls are linked together. God's souls are linking us. God's souls are linking us as a calling from God. In light of my prayers, it's proof we are God's children. All souls are linked together. Now let's pray becoming. Now let's pray becoming a vessel of God. In light of my prayers, 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 in light of my
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Prayer
you
for peace in
so
Ukraine.
Thank you so much, Micah. Dileepji, over to you. I think we are going to have Hava's video recording. And before I turn it over to Dileepji, I just want to say I have a new name for him. He is the connector, the great connector, because you've connected everybody, not only for this program or every other program. So thank you so much. It's really such a privilege and honor to know you. And I just would like to take this opportunity to recognize some of the other women who are here. Queen Mother, thank you for everything you do. Reverend Zoe Chang, thank you. I have known you for so many years. Thank you for your wonderful work inside and outside the UN. I echo what Denise said, and also Dr. Remy Alapo. Thank you for your passion, and also Sabita and the Brahma Kumaris. Thank you so much. And everybody here, in the interest of time, I just picked a few names, but please don't think you are not appreciated. Thank you so much. And all the men who have joined us. And again, especially to you, Micah. I mean, you guys are so awesome, because at 2 a.m., without being sleep deprived, you actually spoke, and you presented such a spellbinding. You and Michelle are really amazing. So thank you again so much. And also, Dileepji, I would like to just introduce Hava very briefly before you play her video, and Hava conveys her apologies, because it has to be at another event, and we all want to, but we can't clone ourselves. So maybe if we do this 5 years later, we can all clone ourselves, be in 3D like another universe at several times. So Hava Diallo is the chief of the civil society unit at the Department of Global Communication, and she has always been very, very supportive of all the NGO events, and it's really she never says no. And she has extensive UN headquarters and field experience designing advocacy and outreach initiatives, and then fostering partnerships on global issues with stakeholders. And she has been an amazing mentor to all the youth, and has set up these youth steering committee and all the programs. And also, when she worked in Kenya at the UN Human Settlements Program in the UN Habitat, she created programs to empower young people and women living in urban and rural areas. So Dileepji, it's over to you to play her presentation. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Howard Diallo. I work at the Civil Society Unit at the United Nations Department of Global Communications. I'm delighted to be here with you today in observance of International Women's Day 2022. I would like to thank the World Yoga community for inviting me to speak on this particularly important subject of gender equality. Working in the United Nations, I can attest that we strive to create advocacy initiatives that bring together civil society actors and the UN together to converse and engage on solutions, challenges, and best practices to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Particularly SDG 5 and 10, focused on gender equality and inequalities. Relevant to today's session, our team strives to unpack critical priorities of the United Nations by examining them in a way that shows how gender equality and inequalities intersect with other issues relevant to attaining the SDGs, such as climate change, sustainability, health, education, to name a few. Such an approach is necessary because the SDGs, and I'm sure you'll agree, are in fact interconnected and fundamentally about improving human lives across the world, reinforcing universal human rights. Now, when we think about what's going on in Eastern Europe, we are reminded of just how much women withstand the worst of conflict and war as women and children flee their country. We also know that displaced women and girls are at an increased risk of gender-based violence because of migration. Now, we must support women and girls globally who dare to take on leadership roles or find themselves in such leadership positions in times of unrest and struggles. As we observe International Women's Day 2022, let us pledge to stand with women worldwide every day in places like Afghanistan, Yemen, Ethiopia, Syria, Venezuela, Ukraine, and in many other locations globally, who are all taking the lead in ensuring their children's survival in many cases, and are serving on the front lines to defend their homelands. We understand that these unprecedented times are difficult, and so we ask everyone to demonstrate empathy and compassion as we strive together to deliver the United Nations mission of promoting peace and protecting the most vulnerable. As I have mentioned before, women and girls tend to be disproportionately affected by issues that permeate political, economic, and social spheres, with the pandemic being a prime example. To further this discussion, the Civil Society Unit at the UN is planning to hold an event for civil society on the 24th of March on the gender pay gap, particularly within the context of the pandemic, which has exacerbated inequality in all the sectors. Now, this event is a side event of the Commission on the Status of Women, which starts on the 15th of this month. One of the critical points that the event aims to highlight is the disparities that still exist for women of color, whose intersectional identities render them more susceptible to economic inequality and place them at a disadvantaged position. The only way we can ever make significant strides towards a world characterized by equality for all is through collaboration and cooperation. Organizations such as the World Yoga Community serve to unite and connect people in meaningful ways to bring about change that is much needed, and they also play a significant role in the work of the UN. It's evident that work still needs to be done in ensuring that conversations and decisions about gender equality include the needs and concerns of women across various levels of society and across different ages, races, and religions. But we're on the right path. Our unity is what matters the most, because when we work to foster belonging and exclusion in our communities, we can create a stronger understanding of each other towards diversity. When you take this into account, you realize there is no one solution that can eradicate all forms of gender discrimination. Every person has a unique experience, and so addressing and considering different gender identities in interventions can help to ensure everyone's specific needs are met and that no one is left behind. Once again, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you today. I appreciate the work that you're doing and having this dialogue. I really regret that I could not be here with you in person. International Women's Day is such a big deal at the United Nations and across the world. I found myself double dipping in so many events. And for this reason, I'm setting this recording. But I am with you in spirit, with passion, in energy, and I really look forward to more opportunities to collaborate with everybody across the screen, to advance a more equitable future for women and girls around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hawa, for all your support over the years to all the NGOs. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And I turn it over now to our great connector, Guru Dileepji. And thank you to our speakers, our performers. Without you, this would not have been here. Thank you, Dileepji. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Padmini Murthy, for moderating this wonderful panel. I'm so happy. We had a beautiful panel today. All of them are my friends. So I'm not just praising them. I know they are talking and doing. That's the main thing. So I had to appreciate their time and valuable support. I was thinking of showing a song. There's a one-woman song from the UN when they launched March 4, 2011 at the UN. I like to show that one. Very interesting. I was talking to Michelle about that song yesterday. Let me see. That's all.
Graham Lyle and Clay. Wakes up, she makes a choice. It had known that song from all her things, and she takes a breath, listen her voice. In my heart, the hearts can't follow, though we're half the world away. Something that he wants to say. We are one woman, you cry and I hear you. We are one woman, you hurt and I hurt too. We are one woman, your hopes are mine, and we shall shine. It's the truth that reaches out and teaches others too. Jack Lord, she gives her name. She lives without shame. Vanilla side of overtaken as can be. Connected she with me. We are one woman. Your courage keeps me strong. We are one woman. You sing, I sing along. We are one woman. Your dreams are mine, and we shall shine. Oh yeah, we shall shine. One many hears our voice, and one many finds our fight. Day by day, it's all the ways. One woman at a time. We are one woman. Your wings we We are one woman. You rise and I stand tall. We are one woman. Dreams are mine, and we shall shine. We shall shine. Oh, we shall shine. We shall shine. Let's do it one more time.
That was a memorable moment. I remember we were there and clapping in the back. So I know we are running a little late. Micah, you have the peace song, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, is that
Yeah.
are you
Then
ready?
do that
Is
one,
that
then
okay? Love and peace?
then officially we will wind up. Then we'll invite other people to open up Q&A. Okay.
I have,
Yeah.
okay, I have his ready. Okay, Sasna, are you okay to play the music? Love and peace.
Let me see. Here, okay, Micah.
She's preparing.
Love and peace. Yeah.
Okay. You can try love and peace.
Let's get over our differences of kinds and nations. Why can't we be like children, smiling hand in hand? But we are born with a promise again and again. We do love each other and be aware of the truth. We are brothers and sisters. God's forcing all in tears, waiting for us to awaken. Love and peace. Yes, we are the child. Yes, we are the child. Earth family. Singing love and peace. It's waiting for children. Now it's time to stop for us this foolish fight. Handing us down, picking up for us instead. No swords but love falling down from the sky. After us we've committed to betray each other. Somebody tell me, where did we come? Where did we go? Where did we go to? On the north of spaceship Earth. We are one, together one big family. God's beloved family, no more killing. I'm serving my God. Yes, we are the child Earth family. Love and peace. Is waiting for children in tears. L-O-V-E, L-O-V-E-P-A-C-E. We need peace. L-O-V-E, L-O-V-E-P-A-C-E. We need peace. Love will make your flower grow. Love is someone that you know. Love is bringing turning in space, and around we go. I need to believe in love. Do you believe in love? I believe in love. Love and peace. Love and peace. Oh, we need it now. Yes, we are the child now. Singing love and peace. Oh, can it be for it? Waiting for us to awaken. God is waiting. Yes, He's waiting. Oh, He's waiting. Yes, we are the child Earth family. Love and peace. That's what we are. He's waiting for us to awaken. He's love and peace. Waiting for children in tears. We are the child Earth family. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. God's waiting for children in tears. L-O-V-E.
Thank you, AMWA Art Project Group and Micah and Michelle for wonderful performance. Because you made us live in this program. Otherwise, listening to so many speakers, we may start sleeping, you know. All the speakers, that Aishu and Denise Cotto, Ada, where is Ada? I didn't see her here. Then Reverend Dion, and our moderator, Dr. Padmini Murthy, Hawa, Ambassador Chowdhury, and Ambassador Sulimani for great support. That was wonderful event. We had a great gathering today. Special thanks to all of you. And a lot of people are behind the scene. They are not on the screen because they are supportive for us for a long time, especially board members, international committee members, trustees. You know, a lot of time I am in the front, but they are with me. So I had to acknowledge 17 of the trustees from different countries. They all supposed to get the applause because they are doing their work, especially today's working day. They keep our video on and watch. They are happy from different countries. I'm so glad they are supporting us. Then definitely I had to bring one hidden story I never tell people. That was in 88, I think. One day I went to my home in the evening. I saw mom and dad is having little argument. And suddenly the plate flying in the room, that was a fish curry in the plate. Mom made a beautiful Kerala style fish curry. It's flying and it hit on the wall, entire wall painted by the fish curry. So I said, what happened here? You know? So I asked mom, what happened? Oh, something happened in the curry. He got upset and he just throw. I argue and throw. So I went to him. I said, what happened to you? I never saw you throwing like this. And he was so angry, you know. So I told him, mom start his life 4 o'clock in the morning. She make a black tea for me. Then I drink the tea and go for sports. Then I come back, still she's cooking, go to school, teach class and come back. Until 12 o'clock she's working. Are you abusing her? So mom is going to have a fight there. So I said, look, we have 3 children, we all are grown up. Don't live in the old school. We had to update yourself. So what I did, I took the fish pieces and I ate, and he got scared because glass pieces in the plate, right? I said, if I die, you are responsible for it. So immediately stop your behavior like this. No more curry is going to make by mom unless you say sorry to the family. Next day he said sorry, then curry is ready. So this is the way I start empowering women. So I told mom, doesn't matter your husband or not, you have to stand up. You stand up for everybody. But when you come to your husband, you became weak. That's not good. You know, you don't have to keep the angry, but you had to tell on his face. So this is where I brought these events. Maybe definitely my mom and sister helped me. But you look, wherever I go, I make sure women are part of our events. And then my college, we used supposed to have, we had like a 10 students team for dance. So out of 10, 6 are girls. And those days, girls won't go outside the state without their parents. So we had to go for competition with our class team. So I had to go to everybody's house, especially ladies' house, make sure their parents are happy to send daughter with this team. So they all get scared because gens can be really violent when you go for college programs, especially go to other states. So I had to talk each ladies, girls, parents, and convince them to get them out because 1 week we had to travel. That was a challenge. Those experiences made me very strong. Then I make sure all the ladies near me or in my circle are safe. Still that's going on. Make sure they are equal. I'll say not equal, they are above us. Women have more capacity than men. Actually, women are making men to sustain on this earth. So we are not equal. Women are little above than the men. So thank you everyone for great support. Being a wonderful celebration this year. This is 32nd year. I'm looking forward to have more and more. So I know we are more than 30 minutes delayed this program. Yeah. So officially we'll wind up this program, and those who want to say a few words, I'll open Q&A for everyone. I saw you raise the hand. Eve.
Hello. Namaste, Guruji Dil. Thank you so much for everything that you do, for all of you. So wonderful to see you, my friends, and Denise, thank you so much for your words, each of you. Diana and Michelle, your beautiful voice and your beautiful being. You, each of you, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. I'm here in Sedona with Chip and his mother at his mother's home, and taking care of life duties in terms of, as you, Denise, was at your mother's, and life is so beautiful, and it is a choice we can make. Thank God, to show up no matter what, when possible, and thank God it's possible that I'm here and now and alive and grateful beyond explanation. I'm just so grateful for all of your words, all of your, and Ambassador Chowdhury, thank you so much, each of you. Thank you so much for being there. And regarding the climate, Guruji Dil, you know, you've been in touch, and look forward to speaking with you again with Chip regarding that, because
Definitely we'll have a really strong event for April 22nd.
yes,
That's our Earth Day. We call Earth Festival. Yeah. So definitely we'll plan it. Divya Pro from
all
India.
your work. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for such beautiful words of wisdom filled with so much love and light and unity. And there were so many amazing messages there, but I just wanted to pick out on the message that Denise gave us as well, reminding us of the importance of the meditation, of connecting with ourselves to connect with everybody. So, and through that, being able to play our role in the world, because each one of us, when we play our role, then together it all works. So in the unity and the diversity, we come together. And thank you so much for so many inspiring words from Aishu, from Padmini, from the ambassadors, from messages from Hawaji as well. It's been a real inspiration to be able to listen to you all today. And of course, Guruji, thank you for putting together this program, an inspiring program. Thank you, Pranam.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Soy Chang from the UNSRC. I saw her video was on earlier. Ambassador Chabala. Ambassador Chabala.
Guruji, the great connector, yes. For we are all connected, and we've had it's a great celebration. As somebody said, yes, every day needs to be celebrated as International Women's Day. I know I celebrate my mother as a saint, as do others. My sisters, my siblings who cared for me. Without them, I would not be where I am. And yes, we need to stay connected and aligned with the Supreme Being. And I believe that's the essence of the tremendous work that Denise and the team in International Day of Yoga are able to promote. To mention Brahma Kumaris and other spiritual practices groups for the work that's being done around the UN and outside of the UN, getting us connected. I've always said, and I've always, every time I meditate, reflected on the, especially the issue of women empowerment, that this remains the central moral imperative of our times, that the issues of women empowerment really are at the center of our being. And we continue, as we are doing currently with the situation in Ukraine, we continue to experience the dire consequences of patriarchy, male domination. And this is a reminder, a grim reminder of what needs to be done by all of us individually and collectively. And across all faiths, across gender, we need to connect, we need to partner around morality, for morality matters. And most of the problems, the issues that confront humanity are essentially because issues of morality, spirituality are being sidelined. They are neglected, at the control. We are having leadership issues focused on control, on discrimination, as we are all aware, racial prejudice, racial discrimination, gender discrimination, and the damage we are doing to Mother Earth, the planet. And you see there are issues of conservatism, the nationalism, the so-called white nationalism, white supremacy. And these, we are being reminded by, for instance, security forces here in the United States and everywhere, that these are the fundamental causes of the instability and the problems that afflict humanity. And the Secretary General has, from time to time, reminded us just of the consequences of patriarchy, male domination. So we are aware of the problems and we know the solutions, what we need to do. And I believe many of these have been highlighted by our speakers. And one point that came up really is that it's a matter of political will. Political will needs to be exercised, and we collectively, because remember the three words, we the peoples, part of the preamble to United Nations thing. We have to, especially at the grassroots level, we have to hold our leadership accountable everywhere, in each and every nation. Outside, for instance, here in the United States, we've been, this is the number one democracy. But we have been reminded by our security forces, and we don't need the security forces, but we know because they are 24 hours every day concerned, they monitor the development, the causes of instability. And they've reminded us, even a few days ago, a week ago, they've reminded us that at the heart of the instability, the threat to peace, we have these forces of nationalism, excessive extremism, and discrimination, people who look different. So it's important for all of us, again, at the grassroots level and everywhere, especially in the faith community, we have issues again. There are these forces manifesting, and we have to rise up. I mean, to the sister who said, referenced this. Yes, the need for all of us to rise up and unite together. Again, that is the theme the Secretary General has highlighted from time to time. Only together can we resolve the problems which have a direct bearing on humanity, on sustainability. And the women, our girls, have it especially to stand up, because I know when women come together, again, across barriers, across superficial boundaries, things get done. And we'll need to have women to stand up and speak up, really, and rise up, because we have continued to witness, really, we are witnessing the failures caused by the failures to address the consequences of patriarchy or male domination. If I may just again, this is, for me, it is important because I've been affiliated with the United Nations for a long time, more than 40, 50 years. And I'm always mindful of the quotation from the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 2, verse 4, the plowshares verse. They shall beat, and I'm quoting it, they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not rise against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. End of quotation. Now, this is important for me because in light of what's happening in Ukraine, and it's important we remember that this has been a prediction. The United Nations has been, for the most part, and for me, a very special, indispensable organization. And what has happened in Ukraine is a threat to the fulfillment of this prophecy. It goes at the core of the essence of our being. As we know, the United Nations really was established or created on the ashes of the Second World War. And we don't want a repeat at all. We are at the moment just at the precipice. Really, it's like witnessing some of the conditions back in 1938, 39. Everything must be done, especially by the faith community. We have to do everything possible. Pray, meditate, and when we do pray and meditate, we send the waves of love and peace to our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, but also brothers and sisters in Russia, so that hopefully by the grace of God, the power of the Holy Spirit can touch the hearts and minds of the leadership, especially in Russia and others as well. So we are in perilous moments, and it's important for us, yes, all of us, to rise up, to speak up and do what needs to be done, and to renew our support for the United Nations and all multilateral agencies, and above all, to celebrate the power, the resilience, the wonder of our women and girls everywhere. And for the boys and men, it's important for us, again, to rise up. We have to, because we are at a moment in history where our very existence, the existence of humanity, is at stake. That's great threat. I'm not optimist. I'm a person of faith. And I believe that all shall be well. But we really need to, as the sister said, who spoke, I believe it's the Ambassador Sulimani, it should not be business as usual. We have to rise up to the heights of radical, if I may use, progressive measures. Take up measures commensurate with the threats that surround us. So again, Brother Guruji, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for connecting us. And yes, as the song from Micah's group said, again, it's important that we keep our souls connected and aligned with the Supreme. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your great remarks. So there's a plan for final event at the church center. We are working on it. Most probably the last week of March, either 29th or 30th. I'm talking with Reverend Leone and Reverend Dennis Cotto, and we need a spiritual event for the Women's History Month, actually. In New York, it's a 1 month program. So let us see how it will work out. And we'll have either lunch or dinner in one of the restaurants. That's also be announced very fast. We are planning to have a prayer service every Wednesday, most probably 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. or 11 o'clock. So I can do only once in a week now because so many events coming up. We are planning 30 days program for in June for International Day of Yoga. We are trying to put a resolution in the New York State. See how it will work out. So a lot of time, it will go very fast. Sometimes it will take so much time. And definitely April 22nd for Earth Festival annual program. So those who didn't get the chance to speak today, that you can join in other weeks and bring your friends and family, have a prayer service and remarks open to everyone. So thank you everyone for joining more than 2 hours. So see you soon. And once more, I want to thank Dr. Padmini Murthy being our moderator. And because of her inspiration, I put this program this time. I had to congratulate her and Aishu and Denise and all of the speakers and Misha and Micah. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Dileepji.
much.
We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you.
Thank you for thanking me. I'm here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, this lady.
Thank you, all the women of the
Olivia
world.
from
Thank you.
Bolivia. And Maria from Argentina, Remy from New York, Nigeria, Chris, Reverend Chris, Queen Mother, Reverend Soy Chang, Yunji Yu, Liliana, Regina, Muhammad, Gandhi King Season Group, Vanessa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Happy International Women's Day once again and stay well.